Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Movie Critic Rob here with the Movie Channel, and today we're going to be reviewing Matt Reeves' new movie, War for the Planet of the Apes. Before we start our review, though, and the first 5 minutes are non-spoiler, I do want to give my thoughts on the first two movies, Dawn and Rise, which I thought were masterful movies. Really, they took the franchise seriously, which is kind of the same thing that Chris Nolan did with Batman. Because I love Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes, but it was kind of wonky, kind of cheesy, and the technology wasn't there to do what Matt Reeves was able to do with this prequel trilogy. And I hope that they go into the actual Planet of the Apes movie and do a remake of that in the new style, because these movies have been consistently fantastic. So with that said, let's dive into War for the Planet of the Apes. Now, this movie sees Caesar leading his band of apes, and they're hiding out from the humans, and they're just trying to survive. Caesar has his family and his group that he is trying to protect, and this army, being led by Woody Harrelson's character, is trying to rid the world of the apes because of the effects of the virus that has continued to spread. And basically, it is a war film. It doesn't really give you the war aspect till the very end, but it is a war film. And I do like the twists and turns that they gave to this movie, which I don't want to give a lot of it away, or any of it away, really, because I want you to go in fresh. But I just wanted to set the story up for you guys. The story is really basic, but that's not to say that it's bad. It's just, honestly, for me, it was a character study of Caesar, because where he is in the movie, if you've seen the last two movies, he had to go up against an ape called Koba, which challenged his ideology. And he's still struggling with that, and he struggles with that throughout this movie. And it really is Caesar coming to terms with what kind of a leader he wants to be amidst this human-ape war that is going on. Really fantastic way of dealing with this character and continuing on with the story, because I really didn't know where he could go as a character, and they gave it the best that the character's ever been given. And as well as the apes. I thought the apes were all really good. The positives of this movie are the characters and the story. There really is a lot of positives in this movie. The Woody Harrelson's character as the Colonel is fantastic. He was menacing, and I've seen him in more funny stuff, and so it was kind of nice to see him menacing. There's a standout in this movie. Amaya Miller is her name, and she plays a mute character, and she has to learn how to communicate with these apes. She's a human girl, little girl, and she gives a absolutely masterful performance. Andy Serkis is just absolutely amazing in this movie and gives so much range, acting as another CGI creature. Give this man an Oscar already. Come on. Just tremendous, tremendous, tremendous performances throughout. Really, really nicely done. Everything looks great. I never felt that the CGI was off. Maybe one little thing that the CGI didn't mesh with reality. But if there's only one thing that I can catch in a movie that's almost all CGI creatures and characters, with the exception of the humans, that's incredible. And props to this team. Fantastic characterizations. The other apes that go along with him are really cool, including one that is a newcomer to the franchise called Bad Ape, which is hilarious. Really could have turned into a Jar Jar Binks, and he didn't, and I like what they did with his character. Really funny, but not annoying, which I really, really appreciated. And they really bond. It's really a character study of all of these characters, but really with Caesar at the middle of this conflict, and everything flows out of that. The negatives of this movie, I guess maybe it's a little too long, but really I like the length. I'm just nitpicking for the sake of nitpicking, because this movie is really, really good. I really had no gripes about it whatsoever. It never felt like it let up at all, which I liked. One thing I wanted to mention, which I really appreciated, imagery that they're able to get in this movie. There's a lot of Holocaust imagery. There's a lot of Holocaust mentioning, I guess you could say, because of the way that the humans and the apes are being treated in this movie. There's a lot of that, which I don't mind that. I think, you know, it reminds us of our history as human beings. And there's a lot of biblical imagery. I kind of saw Caesar as kind of a mosaic figure, especially at the end, which is really, really poignant. But I don't want to give it away in the non-spoiler section. I'll give it away in the spoiler section coming up. At the end of the day, this movie was absolutely fantastic, and I definitely recommend it, especially if you've seen the other two. You don't really have to see the other two, because I didn't remember much of the other two. When I went into this movie, I didn't watch it as a recap, but even still, on its own, it holds up as a really good movie, specifically a good character study for Caesar. So now, let's jump into the spoiler section. I'm going to give you all a couple seconds to skedaddle, crawl on out of here before we get started. But really, the only thing I want to mention as far as spoilers, I'm guessing y'all are gone now, whoever wants to be gone. Koba is in this movie, and he's in this movie by way of flashbacks, and it's really there to give Caesar that demon on the shoulder of, do I become like Koba? Will I become like Koba, or will I stay true and good to my cause? And I really like that, because there was definitely that tension, and I feel like if he wasn't there, it wouldn't have been as poignant. There's a lot of dream sequences that feature Koba, and I really like how they did it. It never felt forced, it never felt overused or overdone or contrived, and I really appreciated that. I was talking about the imagery, the biblical imagery in this movie. There are instances, specifically towards the end of this movie, that it was absolutely masterful what they were able to accomplish with Caesar's character. Because if you read the Mosaic account in the Bible, you know that Moses isn't allowed to go into the Promised Land because of his actions, specifically him getting angry at the rock which provided the water. The rock was Christ, if you read the Bible. And they do a very similar thing with Caesar, where they get to the end of the voyage, they get to their quote-unquote promised land, and you forget that a few minutes ago, while they were in the war, Caesar got stuck with an arrow that he just kind of breaks, and you don't really hear about the arrow again. Well, they get to the promised land, he's looking out onto this green, lush land after the trials are over, and falls over and dies. Says a few words to Maurice, which is that's one of the standout ape characters in this movie. They're all good. They all have really good motivations, really good, well-formed characters, and I appreciated that. But it was really beautiful to see such a intentional, maybe it wasn't intentional by way of Matt Reeves or anybody in the production, but it really came off as intentional, but for all the right reasons. It never felt contrived, and it felt like a really beautiful way to end his character, where he didn't end with his victory. I mean, in a sense he did, because he got his people to freedom, which I guess, yeah, that is the victory overall. But he never got to taste that freedom. While he was this heightened ape, he really had been struggling the entire time, and he never got to breathe. And when he finally, the war is over, and he finally gets to breathe a little bit, he dies. I thought that was an absolutely poetic and beautiful way to end his character arc that is really bittersweet, and I really, really like that. Great ending to the movie, and it kind of felt, it left me, I was sitting in the theater just, it's an ape movie. How does it touch me like this? It was so good, so well executed. This movie was fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to Matt Reeves and his take on the Batman. He's now the director on the Batman for the DCEU, and if he gives half of what he did with Caesar to the character of Bruce Wayne and Batman, we're in for a good ride, guys. I'm really excited for that. But all in all, this movie was fantastic. Go check it out, guys. It's definitely one you should see. If you haven't checked out the others, please watch them, because they do give some context and especially with the stuff with Kova, you're going to be a little lost of who is this ape just showing up here all of a sudden. But other than that, fantastic, fantastic movie. Go see it. That's really all I have to say. Go see it. It's really, really good. This has been Movie Critic Rob with the Movie Channel, and as always, now I'm signing off.